Do you have a good job? We're not talking about job satisfaction or work-life balance here. We're talking cold, hard cash, annual salaries, bonuses, and benefits. Certain jobs have always attracted massive paychecks, but you might be surprised which professions really rake in the cash. Welcome to Mindnificent. In today's video, we're going to discover which jobs are at the top of the list when it comes to annual salary. Click that subscribe button if you want to be smarter with money and learn all the things about getting rich. Are you ready? Let's get into it. In the United States, the average wage in 2019 was $68,703. We chose to use data from 2019 as opposed to 2020 because the numbers don't look good. Coronavirus actually dipped the average wage below $50,000, and it's only just now starting to recover. That average wage covers quite a few different professions, from teachers, librarians, social workers, security guards, and repair technicians. But that's the average wage earning professions. Which field pulls in the big bucks? From 10 to 1, here are the highest paying jobs of 2021. Number 1. Architects. In 2021, architects are in hot demand. Governments are investing millions into infrastructure, and who designs all these projects? Architects. While they can demand a pretty penny for their services, location plays a big role when it comes to their paychecks. Those that work in small cities will obviously earn less than those that work in big cities, like New York and LA. While there can be a huge variation in what an architect is paid, on average, an architect's salary sits at around $100,000 a year. For those few lucky architects hired by governments, rich individuals, or infrastructure corporations, they can make upwards of $350,000 a year. To be a fully fledged architect, you need to complete a 5-year architecture degree, an additional 2-year university course, a year of practical work experience, as well as passing a final qualifying exam by the Architects Registration Board. This line of work has massive amounts of fierce competition, especially at the top, so getting those high-range salaries requires study, focus, determination, and endless amounts of creativity. Number 2. Corporate lawyers. Just being a lawyer brings you home the bacon, but corporate lawyers bring home the whole pig. On average, a corporate lawyer makes $200,000 per year, but this number keeps climbing with more experience. Big corporations like Google, Facebook, and Amazon have an army of corporate lawyers, mainly because there are so many laws and regulations they need to comply with. These big companies also seem to spend more time in court than they do out of it, so corporate lawyers can earn huge annual salaries. The average small business would balk at these kind of wages, but when your shiny corporate lawyer saves your company $1 billion with an objection and a smile, it all becomes worth it. The same lawyers often get rewarded past their normal salaries. Sometimes corporate lawyers also get paid massive lump sums after winning big cases. We're talking 5 to 6 figures in one lump sum, an amount which can easily bump them up a tax bracket or two. Despite your feelings on lawyers, you can't say they don't work hard for it. Becoming a lawyer usually takes 7 years of full-time study, followed by some time specializing in corporate law. Number 3. Petroleum Engineers. One of the most valued resources on our planet is petroleum. So those that work with petroleum in any way, shape, or form have huge annual salaries. Petroleum engineers are some of the highest paid professionals in the petroleum industry, having an average salary of $200,000 per year. And other less qualified workers in this industry typically earn $100,000 a year. Now, this may be a little confusing to some, especially when you consider the global push towards renewable energy and non-fossil fuel alternatives. But the fact remains, despite this, more and more petroleum is being used every day. Part of the reason why people in this field are paid such high salaries is because the job comes with a lot of risks. The petroleum industry has one of the highest mortality rates in the US. In fact, petroleum engineers are 7 times more likely to die at work than in any other profession. In saying that, understanding chemical safety and emergency procedures will go a long way to ensuring you come home every night. Number 4. Pilots and air traffic controllers. It is common knowledge that pilots have a very comfortable salary. But did you know air traffic controllers can earn just as much, if not more, than pilots? On average, an airline pilot earns around $100,000 a year, but the average air traffic controller's annual salary currently sits around $130,000. To some people, it may look like air traffic controller is a much easier line of work to get into when compared to piloting, but their job comes with a whole new level of stress. They're not only responsible for the lives of everyone on board the hundreds of planes that take off and land each day, but they're also responsible for keeping people on the ground safe too. Mid-air collisions doesn't just hurt the people in the planes, but the people underneath as well. For pilots, their job is mostly automated, with ever-improving technology on board. Their relatively large salaries mainly come from long overtime hours, odd schedules, and having to be away from home. Would you rather be a pilot and see the world from a bird's eye view, or would you prefer controlling the traffic from the safe and solid ground? Number 5. Plastic surgeons. Plastic surgeons are a vain, rich person's best friend, and it's the reason why this profession climbs into the list of the highest paid jobs. But it's not just celebrities and the rich and famous getting the help of plastic surgeons to enhance their looks and boost their self-esteem. Plastic surgeons also help those suffering from deformities, disabilities, and injuries. On average, plastic surgeons earn around $250,000 a year. But think of all those surgeons who are now TV personalities, famous for their dramatic makeovers and wonder procedures. Even if you don't consider the side hustle on reality TV, imagine the kind of money they can then charge courtesy of the exposure. And then there's all the plastic surgeons who fly completely under the radar and charge a fortune for their skills. Plastic surgeons typically earn more money the longer they have been in the job, mainly due to reputation and experience. So that $250,000 a year average is just going to keep on growing. Number 6. Marketing managers. We live in a consumerist society where every business has fierce competition, so marketing becomes incredibly important. But it's not just the advertising you see plastered over every square inch of our lives. A marketer is a master communicator and is involved in curating, maintaining, and promoting a company's image, ethics, and mission statement. A good marketing team can dramatically improve both a company's sales and the public's perception of their products, and managers are aware of this. There are some pretty highly paid marketers in the industry, but the average salary for a marketing manager sits at around $150,000. Step up a notch to marketing director and the salary pushes above $200,000. Surprisingly, marketing is one of those industries where experience matters more than qualification. There are no minimum requirements for a job in marketing, and there exists multiple pathways into various levels of the role. Number 7. Software developers. The world we live in today is hyper-connected, and we rely on ever-advancing technology for increasingly complex tasks. Apps, operating systems, networking, emerging blockchain technology, it all has to be built from the ground up, and that takes coders. Software developers are some of the most technical, highly specialized people in the world. They are literally required to speak another language that can take years to learn fluently. Not only that, but as codes upgrade and technology moves to the next generation, they have to keep pace, retrofitting old code, writing new applications, and optimizing everything to keep running smoothly. The average salary for a software developer is $150,000, but depending on the specific coding language and type of employer, that number can head north of $300,000. What does it take to be a coder these days? Well, most programming languages have a formal certification process, but self-taught programming gurus are definitely a thing. Sometimes, a lucky interview or a sideways move in a corporate environment is all that you need to get your start. Number 8. Cybersecurity. Everyone has an online presence, whether they like it or not. Bank details, email addresses, phone numbers, social security, and home addresses are all easily accessible by hackers, so big companies that handle sensitive information need a crack cybersecurity team. In recent years, there have been more and more data breaches and ransomware attacks that cost companies both money and loss of public reputation. Although this job is number 3 on our list, you'd be surprised how much a cybersecurity salary pays. The average salary for someone working in cybersecurity is $250,000 per year. But again, that number can fluctuate depending on your level of experience and the nature of your employer. Just like with software coders, a discipline in computer sciences as well as formal training in their specific field is required to get your foot in the door. Number 9. Professional athletes. Now, this one is common knowledge as the details of most athletes' salaries are publicly shared by their clubs and even further by the media. So is it any surprise that professional athletes are some of the highest paid people in the world? Think stars like Lionel Messi, LeBron James, and Roger Federer, all earning close to $100 million a year. That doesn't even begin to include all the brand deals and sponsorships most professional athletes get in their careers. When you combine the salaries of all professional athletes, you get an average annual paycheck of $2.5 million. This amount tends to increase the longer an athlete's career lasts, but on average, most professional athletes only last for about 5 years before retiring courtesy of injury or old age. Still, not a bad return on a few years' work. Number 10. Hedge fund managers. To some, our number 1 might be a little surprising. To others, it makes complete sense. Before we get into this one, for those who are unsure, we'll explain what a hedge fund and manager is. A hedge fund is when rich people pool their money together to put a big investment in a company. A manager is the person who looks after the investment so the rich investors can sit back and watch their money work for them. The hedge fund manager is paid commissions from the investment deal and everyone walks away happy. Most of the time. You gotta wonder how big those commissions are when you consider that hedge fund managers earn, on average, just as much as professional athletes do. $2.4 million every year. Now, this figure is already very high, but there are plenty of hedge fund managers that earn in the tens of millions. The most well-known hedge fund manager is Ray Dalio, who earned just over $1 billion in 2018. Other high-profile hedge fund managers routinely earn hundreds of millions each year. So there's definitely a lot of money to be earned in this industry. But it's a ruthless industry. Not everyone can be the Wolf of Wall Street after buying a few GameStop stocks. That's all we have time for today. Do you know of any super high-paying jobs that we may have forgotten? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, please click that subscribe and bell notification button because more magnificent content is on the way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.